I have climbed highest mountain There's something special about getting out on the boat with the kids and casting a line. They've grown to love the fun and adventure that you'll all enjoy together. You've taught them everything they know, and just like you, they've become hooked on fishing. By always wearing your life jacket, you've also taught them how to be safe on the water by always wearing theirs too. And just like you, they're ready for anything. The Canadian Safe Boating Council and its partners thank you for getting them hooked on life jackets too.
Be sure to wear your life jackets, guys. We are on WMUC Radio, where college radio is good radio. And this week we have special guest Daniel John Roberts. He came here all the way from wherever the hell he came from. And he should also not be sitting all the way over there and should get a seat.
That's true. You should get a mic.
And come over either near me or near Okechi.
Okay.
You can just throw all my stuff.
You can also talk to us about your plans on releasing your own YouTube channel, right? Yeah. Trying to get your own sound out there, your own brand.
I have, too many things.
Not enough avenues, right?
That's right. Hold on.
As you can tell, we just got in the studio because people were running late. Not gonna name names. Daniel, but
you
we're here now. We're here to talk, conversate, and take up your hour because that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. You mind if I throw this up?
Go ahead.
Oh, this is the start of the YouTube videos too. Check out his channel.
I got it. Basically, this really usually just ends up being a way to get a shot that looks good without having a photographer.
Oh, okay. So
like
yours is
where everybody looks really great.
Overcomplicated selfie stick.
Basically, this is like a selfie stick on steroids. Yeah.
But we don't endorse steroids, right, Sean?
No.
I mean, steroids can be okay as long as you're not competing in the NFL.
Cut
it.
Cut it.
And what we're talking about is this humongous tripod that he brought in. Obviously, if you're listening on the radio, you cannot see what we're seeing over here, but that's what imaginations are for.
It's the big gym of tripods.
That is right. Yes. So this is exactly. Let's hope that you can see my face and stuff. Okay. Hi guys.
Hey Daniel.
Thanks for having me on. My sincere apologies for the craziness and everything, last minute stuff here.
Yeah, honestly, we're a host down. We were kind of sweating right before the show, guys. We didn't know what we were gonna do, but Daniel, luckily he saved us.
Hey.
He came down. I don't know where he's really from. I just assume he's just coming from the clouds.
Are you from California?
I am from the ether.
The ether.
Yeah, right. Okay. You don't know. You don't need to know.
The 11th planet from the sun, man.
Then what is this?
What is the 11th planet from the sun?
Kinto and the beans. Going on over here on your Instagram, because it says somewhere in California, right?
Yes, that's right. So actually, I haven't changed that yet because I've just moved.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've been in California for the last year. I actually grew up in Maryland, in Laurel.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Real close by.
Yes.
So, do you like crabs?
Yeah, I do like crabs.
It's true, then.
Then he's from Maryland.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
That's the only thing you need to know. That's it.
I mean, well, the thing is, actually, I do like crabs, but I've very rarely eaten them, which should make me not a Marylander, right?
It's okay.
I approve
it's
of
not
crabs.
okay, Sean.
I approve of Old Bay.
Okay.
I mean,
I've been to the Chesapeake.
If we're being truthful here, though, I don't like crabs personally.
Okay.
Just because they're really salty, and I'm not a big I like to monitor my health, Sean.
I mean, so do I.
Yeah, but I don't like crabs because they're just too damn salty.
Yeah. Well,
and I don't like salt.
I think that in my mind, I'm questioning your qualifications as a Marylander. Then.
I mean, it's up to you, but I don't care about your opinions. So
that's good. Yeah, healthy sense of self. That's good.
Yeah, I know me.
Yeah.
Don't get that twisted.
All right. That's good. That's good.
So who the hell are Quinto and the Beans?
Yeah, I've never. It's probably Quinto. I'm pretty sure it's Quinto.
It's your band, right?
No, it's actually not my band. Believe it or not.
It's a type of bean.
Who are these guys?
So, a friend of mine. Shout out to Quentin Foltz.
So Quinto is Quentin?
Yeah. So the guy on the left in that picture, if we're looking at my Instagram page right here, is the guy on the left with the upright bass is a guy named Quentin Fultz, who's a singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist, and from where is it?
I have a question.
Fountain Valley, California.
I have a question.
Yes.
What qualifies him as a multi-instrumentalist?
That means that he plays more than one instrument.
Like
He plays banjo and upright bass and guitar and a little bit of piano, and he sings.
Okay.
Right.
I was about to say, if it stopped at 3, he's just a tri-instrumentalist. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, he's pretty good, and he's a particularly good songwriter and singer too, and he's a good performer. You gotta be. Totally. He has a very strong persona, and he knows when he has something to say, he figures out how. He has a strong way of saying it, very interesting way. So he's a good guy to check out if you're looking for interesting singer-songwriter guys. He's got some good stuff. It's right now. He's just on SoundCloud. SoundCloud, everybody. It's the new thing. The kids these days.
The new startup.
SoundCloud.
Get your music from there.
That could also be a philosophy for engineers too.
I could also see that as an indie band name too.
It's also basically Joe's mantra.
Yeah, Joe's pretty loud.
Yeah, he's one of my housemates who literally just has like the loudest voice.
He just yells.
Like all the time I'll be upstairs and he'll be like telling someone a story and like occasionally mention my name and I'll hear the entire story from upstairs. And then I'll come downstairs and he'll be like, "Yo, Sean, guess what just happened to me?" I'm just like, "Dude, I already know. The whole entire neighborhood knows."
Sean, right before this like rushed radio show, I was like using your bathroom, like a good guest does. And Joe just comes out of nowhere and just starts yelling like, "Hey, who's that?" I'm just like, "It's me, Okechi." "Hey, Okechi."
Dude, all the time, Teddy will be like in his beats, like just, in the zone or whatever. And like Joe will just like sneak up behind him and then just like pop out and be like, "Hey, Teddy." He'll be like, "Yeah."
I mean, that's good. That's a good one, though.
Isn't that just like standard, proper college roommate? Like,
yeah, I'd be worried if that wasn't happening.
Really? Yeah.
Sounds like they have a good relationship.
Things should always be a little bit, uncomfortable and a little bit unexpected on a regular basis.
Yeah. Well,
you should expect some of your stuff to be messed up. You should not expect everything to come out of the year not broken, because something's gonna get broken.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you go to college, Daniel?
I did.
Where'd you go?
I am edumated.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes.
You have paper to prove?
I'm edumated.
Color me impressed.
Goodly, in a bigly fanciful way. From UMBC.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Not
so
too like rocks throw away, right? Yeah. Stone skip.
Yes.
Stone's throw.
A stone.
Stone skip.
What did you say? A rock's throw?
A rock's throw and a stone skip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Hop, skip, and a jump across the pond in the waters, or whatever you want to.
That makes sense.
However you want to talk about it.
Over I-95. Basically.
Yeah, because everything's over
really.
I-95.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The University of Maryland, Baltimore County. For anyone, I'm sure anyone. Well,
everyone
knows who that is.
How was that actually? Because like I was like debating whether to go there before coming here.
Yeah.
When I was transferring from community college, and I was like so close to picking there, but it was the thing that stopped me was it was way too close to home, and it kind of reminded me of community college because I heard it was like pretty small,
right?
Like small community, and I was like, I need bigger sites.
Yeah. Well, before I answer that question, is it actually tied to the University of Maryland, as in this University?
No,
of Maryland?
it's tied to the University of Maryland system. Like,
just generally.
College Park is just like the flagship school of the University of Maryland system.
You're the important one.
If you want to say that, like we don't like saying that, but it's.
Yeah, you're the real deal.
It's kind of
we definitely love saying that.
I mean, let's not be like braggarts here, man. We gotta portray it as like a humble brag,
right?
You know?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know, man. If you got it, you can flaunt it.
Yeah,
There's
but
no
do we
shame in
need to
that.
flaunt it? I mean, with all this construction that's going on, people already kind of know.
Yeah.
Yo, after our basketball team sucking or our football team sucking, we got to hold on to what we have.
We're not gonna let this go.
Well, anyway, as far as what my experience was, I think every college is plus and minus. I did music education. Not sure if I really, in the long run, actually would have chosen that. I might have done a different degree in music, which would be surprising to anybody who thinks you need a job in music. But for me, actually, I may not have. But it was good because I got a full ride to study music, and the professors, there were some professors there that I've really respected and I learned a lot from. I can really only speak for mostly on the music side of things, because as a music major, that's your whole life. You just, you're dead to the world except for that. So I found people to be, there's a very open experimental nature to a lot of it. And I found that in the sort of a radical kind of philosophy about it that came from John Cage and the wild new music world.
Who's John Cage?
Oh, well, you will enjoy this.
I mean, I don't know who this is either, but
you're so new to it. Oh man.
Yeah, so okay. we're about to get schooled.
All right. Well, so John Cage was part of what was it called? I don't want to misquote this.
You better not.
It's like the New York School. I
think
because they called it.
We have
basically,
Google.
there's in the world of music or in classical music, there is a type of music called, which people argue actually about what it's called, but quote new music or atonal music, and the idea was that basically there was in music you normally think of things as being in a key, right?
Yeah.
Here's the stuff that sounds good generally. Here's what's not. Here's what here are the right notes and the wrong notes, quote unquote. Here are the rules by which you can get what you want to hear, and everything in a key is organized around one pitch called a tonal center. And what people in the new music world would do is say, let's throw that out. We're bored with that. And so they would either have two or more tonal centers, or they would not have a tonal center. And so you'd get things where either they would find some, like John Cage often did, he would use a book called the I Ching, which is like a way to randomly explore randomness. And he would create music following whatever rules he would come up with to follow through that book, or people would work very motivically, meaning they would take a phrase that was interesting with just certain intervals, and then they would use compositional principles, but not concerned with tonality, to take that motif or motive and compose with it. So, which is if you think about Beethoven, da 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 da, Beethoven's Fifth.
Right.
That's a motive or motif, right?
Thank you for explaining this.
Yeah, I was joking. No,
yeah.
I got a lot of what you're saying, and I was joking about the schooled part. But for those who don't know music theory and music composition,
right?
I'm already getting off he kind of did a little deep dive.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that was my apologies.
No apologies.
No, it's fine.
But
I don't accept your apology.
You can think of it as in music. Music is a language.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different. So it has some things it can express well and some things that not so well. But there are, just like any language, you have grammar.
Mm-hmm.
And the new school was one that decided, let's throw out all the rules of the old grammar book and just do something that was wild and sometimes really seemed nonsensical, which in a very postmodern world is actually very interesting to explore because
all the other patterns and combinations have been done. Nonsensical gives you that creativity, that new landscape that you can explore as a new creative. And we're also seeing that now today.
Yeah.
Look at EDM and trap music. I mean, trap is just a bunch of sounds.
Right.
Let's really deconstruct it. It's
part of this. Well, but hold on, I would say a little bit of a stretch, but I would say.
It's still crude in a lot of its implementations, but still it's the same basic principle. We've seen in basic hip hop, it was it started really basic, but now you look at it and a lot of bars and a lot of beats that people are rapping and creating are just people look down on the lyrics, but if you look at it compared to what it started from, they're insane because people have just gotten so used to the norm that they advance their skill level to the point where now you have this.
Right.
And we're going to keep seeing that until I'm pretty sure it's going to go cyclical and kind of go like, hey, let's do a throwback, and then everyone does a throwback.
Yeah, right,
Like-
totally. Well, and part of the thing about the new school, or the New York school, I guess, I'm pretty sure is what you call it. I'm sorry for any of my friends who actually know and are out there.
They'll be texting me now just saying like, you better correct
phone's
yourself
gonna
right
blow
now.
up. What are you doing?
Don't embarrass me.
But it's part of the idea is like, you know, when life seems completely absurd and ridiculous and meaningless, that, for me, that music is actually very satisfying. It can be also ridiculously irritating because it can just like grind in your ears. Nothing feels like it connects at all. Where is the rhythm? Or there's no beat. You know, you can't even identify something like a melody or anything you could hang your hat on or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
But there are still rules that you can find that allow you to get to that sound, right? Just the same as in trap music, there are certain things that make it so that you identify it as trap music, right?
Yeah.
So it's a fun exploration. It was open, and I enjoyed that kind of openness to it. It made it more comfortable for me to really openly explore things that don't sound like they'll work right away and figure out how to make them work. And I appreciated those sort of things about it. That's cool. That's the short answer there.
That was definitely not a short answer.
No, that was a long answer. Sorry.
I appreciate the long anser.
It was a short answer at the end of the long answer. That's really what I was trying to say.
A TLDR.
Yeah.
For those.
Yeah.
TLDR.
For those like non-internet people.
Yeah. I sometimes I think I was definitely born in the wrong generation.
What?
Anyway.
Why do you think that, Dan?
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Because
Wait, which generation?
Because I think like an old person.
Like, because if we can just like go back to your last interview with us, the after where we were just talking and discussing, you attempted to like film.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, and it was like none of us really cared because
Right.
I guess we're all used to like people like like streaming their whole lives because that's what we live in right now, right?
Right.
It's normal.
Yeah.
But the pose.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
like
Right?
you had a pose
I
of just
did.
like,
I
hey,
did.
I'm normal.
I
I'm filming
definitely-
you, and it's normal.
I definitely did, and it was definitely not normal. And I definitely was not aware of it when I was thinking I was normal. Right?
Really?
Yeah, I was like, you're like, it's actually that pose is what's making me most uncomfortable.
Like-
I remember is what you're saying, Sean. And I was like, oh crap, wow. Because my preference is like, I would much rather never like forget social media and all that. I just want to go be an artist and stuff.
No, yeah, I
right?
feel that too.
I mean, I
And
think that's
so-
what a lot of artists feel.
Yeah.
Like, because from what I've heard, the social media aspect of like promoting yourself as an artist is actually like, it's not fun. It's more so just like you have to do it, or you're just not. You're just gonna be like, you're gonna be putting out really good songs, really good music, but it's just gonna be it's literally just gonna sit there, no
Yeah.
views, because it's not being spread.
Right.
Because that's the only way it gets spread now. No one like gets buys a mixtape off the street anymore.
Right.
They go to like Dat Piff or just
Well,
like
did they buy them off the street
or
back in the day?
actually yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
like back like when it was first starting off, like that's how people shared their music.
That's cool.
Like,
I dig that.
Like that's not just like hip hop in general. That's like any genre that was coming up during that time. Like you had to get people, you had to have that like network connection, real physical connections, like knowing people to get your stuff played. Now it's like you have to promote yourself, and you have to promote yourself as a brand to get yourself known as an artist.
Right.
But anyone can get known now.
Yeah,
which is
I know,
great.
and that's the liberating part of it. That's the liberating part of the internet in general.
Right.
If you know how to work it, you'll make it.
Yeah, it's
Quote it.
Yeah, that's so many things to say.
What's first?
Yeah,
Rebuttal.
the rebuttal. No, I don't. Basically, I agree. I guess for me, is part of right now what I'm just doing is trying to figure out what is a process where I can capture that interesting, worthwhile stuff to share. Because one of the big struggles for me in accepting that I had to do that was, I really hate trying I would hate if I just felt like I'm just trying to get attention for attention's sake, right? And
Yeah. And people know.
right.
They'll
will.
know immediately, and they'll like just say no.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at your social media feed on a daily basis, and most of what you see is not like, why should I care?
Yeah, a lot of
Right?
it is.
Just like
So-
nope.
Exactly.
Oh, a
right?
cat.
And for me, I have a deep respect for like a very idealistic view of the arts that I want to be able to live up to. So, and that kind of like whatever, this doesn't, I don't care in my Facebook feed, whatever. That's like the antithesis of everything I want to be, right? So that was the first thing, is like, how am I going to come up with stuff that's going to be worth anything, right?
Gotta put your spin on it. Gotta be
right. So exactly. And then when is it going to happen? And sometimes I just don't know. So it's like, well, and that's the first time I tried doing that, by the way. But it was like, you know what?
I mean, you got to start somewhere.
I'll just turn it on and just see how long I can leave it on before it gets really awkward. So I just left it on, just walking around like, this is different. I wonder how they'll respond. And like, just kept it going, and then we had an interesting conversation.
Yeah. No, it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. But no one's good at things when they just start. You just kind of gotta.
You can't compare yourself.
Keep on throwing stuff against the wall until something sticks.
Yeah.
And then write that down.
Yeah.
And then continue and iterate your formula or ideas or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have been finding that I can find some really cool photos if I take video and capture things for a certain amount of time. I can find the right shot where it's like, oh, it's like I had a good photographer with me.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's like taking millions of photos.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think what would work better for you is photos, because I don't know, like with a song, if you're capturing a video, it feels like you're trying to like promote some type of stunt, but a picture is like, it tells 1,000 words, right? Mm-hmm. And with a song, those like really good album covers that are just like immediately you like see it, you just think you're just brought back to a feeling or some like thought that you had when you were listening to that pinnacle song on that album or that EP or whatever, right? When you have that feeling, you're expressing yourself truly as an artist. Like when you're able to express that through the picture or cover art that you chose to represent your songs, because all songs are just like, waves. It's just electricity, signals, and all you're hearing is just that. It's just audio. So to be able to put a picture that just like instantly takes someone back to go along with what you're hearing, that's like a way you can kind of circumvent that whole social media stigma of trying to promote yourself.
Yeah. And I think on the other hand though, the content that people post generally online that people respond most to often is video.
Yeah.
So, basically, to me, what I'm just figuring out, like, when can I do what quality video do I want to put out that feels like it fits and it's interesting, it's worth it. How do I get that? And when I can't do the video, find a good picture and just kind of like for the form, what really serves.
Well, I think you're going about it the wrong way. It sounds like you're going like, what will be big, what will be good, what will get good responses. Whereas you should be just like going with what seems cool to you.
Just be true to yourself, man.
No. So I should say that first I'm trying to understand just generally what do people respond to so that I understand where I'm putting it out. But my taste is guiding all of that. If I'm not comfortable with it or I don't feel like I have something worthwhile to say, then I'm not putting it out there.
I mean,
does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it's still good though. The fact that you're taking these steps, to start is like, because you're gonna get better. Like that's just how these things work.
Yeah.
You're gonna like progress. And you're gonna see, maybe not post it like that next time, or maybe word my like post a little better so people can understand what I'm saying better, and so it doesn't go over everyone's head.
Right.
Like you learn from everything you do. So like just starting out, it's gonna be bad. Like let's not sugarcoat it. It's gonna be bad the first couple times, but then you're gonna get better because unfortunately people are gonna check you.
Yeah.
You're gonna.
That is fortunate too.
I know. I mean, like it's like a double-edged sword. We see like if you see that what you're posting doesn't get like any likes, or like you're seeing people say like, "What is this?" Don't do that. Don't. Like maybe double think. Like check yourself.
Right. Well, so it's a lot of it is just trying things and trying to understand the nature of the ecosystem I'm working in. Really.
Yeah. That's true.
Because it's confusing. It totally is, because like there's on the one hand, I really want to make sure that I'm authentic and honest.
Yeah, you got to be.
And there's always going to be naysayers, and there's always going to be people who appreciate it. And actually, the only people that are really going to appreciate it are the ones that can really connect because I was honest, right? So that has to be there first. And that once I'm doing that, that helps me to have like a filter. Well, like so somebody didn't like it and they got upset and they said whatever.
Right.
Whatever.
You know essentially your base.
Exactly. And I know that in even that, the first call is like, was I honest? Not did my base like it. Was I honest? Is this really me? Right? And then, because I'm doing that, there will be certain subset of people who will really be interested in that. And you build kind of a tribe or a community around that, basically.
I mean, I don't know about like all people, but I know that when I see something that seems like extremely genuine and like someone is like passionate about that and they can communicate that to me well, that's what I'm interested in.
Right.
Like if someone can communicate their passion to me, then, I'll feed off of that, off of their feelings, and then really just appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I definitely like that you want to like stay honest because like you can, go down that rabbit hole of lying. But you really, have to be
creating that persona.
You have to be really smart and be able to tell about like what people like.
Yeah.
In order to do that, and
you gotta know how to game the system.
You gotta know how to game the system. But if you can't game the system, then you're just gonna look like a poser.
And it's gonna be funny too.
Well, I mean, depending on who you're talking to, I think also you may, or who's listening, even if you're really good at gaming the system, they'll know you're a poser.
I mean, yeah, but even that, so. There's still a difference in that. Those people at that point are in the minority. So at that point, they're just haters.
Right. Well, maybe, but okay. I think also how you'd evaluate somebody in that regard is totally dependent on what you're looking for from an artist.
Yeah.
Right? But for me, I would feel like I failed if I curated this false image that was successful and had nothing to do with me.
Oh,
you made a boatload of money, though.
Yeah, even if I made a boatload of money. I mean, I would be glad to have the money. All artists want to have money, right? But
you know what?
I don't think, at least growing up in my experience so far, I don't think that, I think my conscience would kill me. I would feel like this is not what I was about.
Then you're an artist we need. Yeah, that's good.
Also, there's the fact that you would always have to keep up that persona whenever you're in the public light and being unhappy, because you're gonna get unhappy at some point putting up that front and not being yourself when this is something that you wanted to do as a personal goal, not a financial or like success story goal. You wanted to do this because you wanted to do it.
Right.
So to always put up that front, and especially when you can't anymore and it crashes and burns. Yeah, that's where you see all these like, what happened? They went crazy for like that. A lot of times, that's what I personally believe. Like that, like an act could not be put up long enough, or it couldn't be put up at that time because they're going through something very personable.
Yeah. Well, and actually,
personal.
To get a little more interesting here, I to a certain degree already know very much what it is to hold up an act, because I grew up as a PK in a large church.
A what?
And a pastor's kid. PK is what that means. Sorry.
Okay.
In that world, that's call him a PK. And so...
you were telling us about this,
Yeah, and so it's like by the end, it was like, it's a mega church in Maryland. It's like 3,000 or 4,000 people on a Sunday. And like everybody knew who the Roberts were. And I played in the band, and I was a band leader, whatever, and stuff like that. And so, and my dad working at the church meant that I also felt like there's a lot of things, if I'm questioning anything that this community is about or whatever, that I can't say anything about that, right?
Because you're Roberts.
Right. So I already know what it's like to have an image that I have to uphold, and like trying to balance that and trying to be honest inside of that. And I know how much I hated that.
Yeah, it sounds very stressful.
It's, oh man.
You're always just like
yeah. I mean, and it's not like figuring out what you really think is actually very hard. So I'm not sure that, I wouldn't say that I was necessarily being dishonest at all. But I would say I would at least really wanted to believe what the community was about. And I felt pressure to, and what all the people that I respected and wanted to be like, expected a certain kind of thing too, which conflicted with how I thought. So there's always this tension in there. I think every part of your life you're going to feel that all the time.
Yeah, because like we're always figuring stuff out.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
We live a long life.
Dude, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening every day.
You're just like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna think about that differently now.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I know, probably more than most people my age. I have the experience of like a little mini fame that I've experienced, and what that's like, and I hate it. I mean, so like, unless I could be really try to have a healthy honesty with that, you know, I already know that I don't want a false image that I have to make money from. You know, I know what that, because I have a little bit of experience of already what that's like, and I don't want it.
We wouldn't see you in a mink coat and like Gucci glasses.
It would be fun though.
It would be fun.
Well,
Not gonna.
That could happen, but it probably would be me intentionally making a humorous or potentially biting comment, depending on the context, I guess.
Be ironic.
I wouldn't be
being
against
ironic.
it. You just have to give me a good reason to do it, and I'm sure I would do it.
Fair.
Are you still religious?
No.
No.
Well, the short answer is no.
What? So how do you go from being a quote unquote PK, which I didn't know was an abbreviation until now. Thank you for telling me that.
Sure.
How do you go from that to like just straight up saying religion is not for me? Like what happened? Like not to pry.
Yeah.
Like just like what experience happened that you're just like, I can't do this anymore, or what was the breaking point?
Gosh.
Yeah, we got deep.
It's a challenging thing to try to summarize, and I don't think I really understand all of it. And I don't always know how to talk about this because
tell us how you feel.
Yeah, man. This is a conversation.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. I'll figure it out. Just give me a second here, because let me put it this way: there's actually a lot of ways that I think I still can very much identify with the people that came, that I grew up around.
I mean, because that was your community.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the reasons why they're attracted to the community like that, I fully identify with.
Like such
as a desire for security, a way to make sense of the world, a way to tell what is right or wrong, and a way to talk about that, and a way to to figure out how you want to interact and have a supportive community, kind of like a baseline for how you have relationships and all that. All that kind of stuff matters. Everybody needs those, right?
Yeah, and in our modern world, like in a lot of places, we don't have those like institutions set in place. Like
right.
It's sort of like, if you don't have that innately set up in your community already, or some kind of community that is like that, you're kind of on your own. And in that instance, that's when like we are at our most vulnerable, when we're on our own. Yeah. Because this world is too global now. We can't.
Right. It's hard.
Yeah. We can't isolate ourselves anymore.
Right. And it seems to me like, in general, this is just a human thing: is to organize your relationships in your community around a unifying story. That's essentially what religion is to me. And I think we need ways to have that to make our lives work. We need that. And there's still ways I can talk about that story I came up in, or the ways I connect with it, that I can talk with somebody from that world, and we basically, it sounds like we agree. But I think probably to them, I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing, if you know what I mean. Because I can say all the right things and everything, but if I'm asked to say literally, do I agree with what they believe, the answer is absolutely not.
And I guess from their perspective is like, how can you not believe in something that I've put all my being into, and what is like explain my whole meaning of life?
It's definitely tough to grasp.
It is, no, like, because we looking on the outside who aren't that religious are just like, I mean, it's like, I understand that you believe that, but we're entitled to our own beliefs, everyone. Right. But sometimes a belief can be so strong that you want to put it on others. Right. Yes. Well, and it gets tricky here, because your sense of yourself, your identity, it gets tied up in this stuff, right?
Yeah. It really does.
And I think that happens for everybody, right? I'm sure there are things I could find that you hold dear that are important to you, and if I attacked them or questioned them, it would be very hard. I'd get triggered. Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. So the language around it is different, but essentially there's something you hold dear, or some set of things,
And whatever is deepest there, you call that sacred, if you want, in religious terms. And everybody's got stuff like that.
Yeah, like, anytime you, like, hit that sort of, like, sore spot, you're going to get the same visceral reaction you get when you go up against a, like, evangelical Christian and say, like, something that, like, you know is going to set them off.
Right.
If you tell someone... Actually, yeah, if you tell, like, a feminist something very anti-feminist, you're going to get that same reaction as if you tell an evangelical, like, an anti-evangelical thing.
Yes.
It's that same, like, this is my identity, this is what I believe in and what I believe as true.
Yes.
Don't come for me.
Right.
Don't come at me, bro.
Right. Right. And so this is a major world that I just want to learn a lot about, because I'm finding that the things I always grew up thinking, and this is actually probably what saved me and pulled me out of, in the long term of that situation, was for myself and actually my family, we all claimed, at least, that we wanted to know the truth first and live according to that. And so that was actually first before following Jesus.
I like that.
And yeah, I mean, I like it too, I think, except I wouldn't wish the experience of leaving all that on anybody. But and I think a lot of to figure out what's true right now is actually more in the world of, like, psychology and sociology is really, really interested in, because it seems like the things that were going on that drove me out were actually of the church were actually at the core ways people were meeting needs that they had that we talk about in those areas. They weren't philosophical or theological issues, really. Mm-hmm. They were things like,
identity issues.
Yeah, like identity stuff. Yeah, like somebody's like, they grow up without a dad and God is their father. That kind of stuff. And
man, that's a big crutch.
Yeah, it's I mean, and it gets tricky because you want to be able to all of us want to take a certain side on things, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, you want a clear, simple answer, but you can't, because actually
life's not like that.
No, and for a lot of people, getting into that world actually may be what saves them.
Yeah. No, that's very true. Like, a lot of addicts, a lot of
people in the prison system.
Yeah, prison systems. People who have, like, PTSD. Like, a lot of people take refuge in religion and, like, that holy mentality, like, because it gives you that, like, sense of there's a higher power helping me in my time of crisis.
Yeah.
Yes. Now,
I think that can be good temporarily.
It can be good temporarily, but here's the thing: a lot of those crises moments tend to break people, right? And the way that a person's able to rebuild themselves is with the help of these sorts of institutions like religion.
Right.
Now, once you rebuild yourself with something, you're gonna associate that with your identity in some way, shape, or form. And in fact, you're gonna defend it twice as hard because this essentially saved your life. Mm-hmm. So if you come at it, you're coming for everything that is me. Uh-huh. And this is like, not to bring, actually I am going to bring this back to social media. To bring this back to social media, I think that's also why you get all these flame wars. Because like now we're seeing everyone is stepping on everyone's toes. And now it's just like
Facebook. Oh my God.
Twitter. Twitter's just like something else now. Nowhere safe. But it's that thing that if you say something and it offends the wrong person, and it's going to offend someone because everyone's connected.
Yeah.
And you get enough of that like group mentality, like piling on to that same offense, you're gonna get that shame. Someone's gonna be like, shame on you. You shouldn't have said that. Shame, shame, shame.
Right.
Like, it's gonna happen and it's not gonna feel good. And a lot of times, that shame is deserved with some of like the critical things that have been said on Twitter. Not gonna say some of them, not gonna say by who, but like some of these things, they're justified, and then a lot of them aren't. Yeah. And it's because of what some people like to call, and what I've seen on YouTube, I'm not a psychologist, but people on YouTube pretend to be, is the scapegoat mentality. Like, they like to like scapegoat people, because we need someone to blame. It makes us feel good.
Uh-huh.
And this is this is
Boy.
like we can also bring this back to like the whole pop celebrity days. Like remember Britney Spears, and she was like doing good, but then everyone made Britney shave her head.
Yeah.
No, but like that's how it works. Like
Yeah.
you need someone to blame, especially when everything is going to hell.
Yes.
We need something to blame.
Okay, so there's so many things to say. So first, I still haven't really answered what made me leave. And the shortest way to answer it
Just coming up with more questions.
is
now.
to say that I took Jesus too seriously. That's actually
very big. That's very big of you to say.
okay. That's I don't know if it's big.
No,
but I
it's
think
like because I could see a lot of people saying that's hard to admit. Like, how can you take Jesus too seriously? You know,
I
like,
I know how. Anybody who like wants to know, don't do it. It's like anyway, but well, I don't know. I haven't. The jury's technically still out on that. But so I basically for a long time really wanted to grow. I was in a non-denom evangelical context where. And what was initially planted as, quote, a seeker church, which means you wanted to be as open and welcoming to anybody who's new to religion or burned by religion and make it more like a safe place. And so generally the theology that was actually presented or that anybody got educated on was pretty watered down and shallow and came back to the same kind of more traditional sense of the gospel, which was not, and there were sneaky pieces of like Calvinism and Presbyterianism and Baptist stuff that kind of seeped in a little bit, but no one was really aware of any of that kind of stuff really. It was just kind of basic, like you've sinned, Jesus will save you, and you accept it's by believing that you're saved, right? So
the one core thing is you have to believe.
Yeah.
You gotta believe.
Okay, so
All religions, basically.
And, well, maybe. I don't know enough about other religions
Most
to
religions.
be comfortable saying. But, so, I was the kid who, like, every night, we had these cassette tapes of the New Testament read by, yes, believe it or not, my parents had from back in the day. So I had this old cassette player. Every night, I would press play and listen for like half an hour. So I ended up memorizing a ton of the New Testament by just listening. I'd go to bed every night listening to this stuff. I was really serious about it. And the more I kept listening and trying to live it out, the more I found myself feeling ostracized on the outside of the community. And I couldn't figure out how to talk about that. At first it was because I was trying, as a musician in the band and stuff, I was trying to play in such a way and do the art in such a way that reflected the message as I understood it, which is, frankly, a very extreme message that claims to be the fundamental thing in your whole life. So if you're not performing at a high level, doing that well, and delivering the message clearly and honestly and powerfully, you don't believe this, right? So, and I was running into a lot of contexts where that was not how people were working on it, and I was getting a lot of flack for that. But then I also couldn't grow in any other way, and so eventually I left, and I had just gotten a job as a high school music teacher in Howard County. And I knew that was going to be really time consuming. So I just told the people that, the teams I was serving on, that I was going to take a break for a while. Wasn't sure how long, because I needed to do this teaching thing. I didn't know how much it was going to take out of me. And it did end up taking everything, so I couldn't do it. But I just never went back after that. And then no one reached out, by the way. So, like, that was interesting. Like, being totally committed since, like, middle school to a major thing like this, you go away for a while, and then, like, no one seems to care. Anyway, that was interesting. So that said a lot. But the other thing was I realized there were other things that were major things Jesus commanded, and we just didn't seem to care about them at all. And those things started to crystallize a lot for me. So, for instance, love your enemies is a command. But I have never heard of and never been a part of, and later was part of a church staff, I'll explain how that happened, where we ever had a staff meeting when we said, who are our enemies and how are we going to love them? Right? Like, that just never happened, right? So when I say I took Jesus too seriously, I mean I took Jesus too seriously, and the church was not about Jesus.
You guys were just about...
It's serving other purposes. How do I understand what those are? And for me to find a way to be able to relate to them at all, I have to find a way to talk about and understand what the real dynamics were, and then choose intentionally how I want to relate to those people in that community from that. That's, at least right now, that's where I'm at.
And like I guess your issue was like there wasn't a channel for discussion, or they were just like, no, there's no need to talk about this type of...
Well, I mean, I think when I was growing up, I didn't have all the language for this. I couldn't figure out how to talk about it first.
Right.
But a lot of it I did bring up, and it was just... the best way I know how to talk about it is effectively being gaslighted. Which I feel that's a word that's used in like social justice circles, especially in racial discrimination, but it's not limited to that. It's basically when somebody who has more power than another person discounts that other the person who has less powers experience or reality, and convinces them that what they think is true isn't. So it's effectively like a kind of a power play. And it's a way that the person in power can often avoid or be in denial about things that really need to change.
So it's just like someone going like, hey, you don't need to ask these questions. All you need to know is that I'm in charge, and you should just believe this.
It could be that, or it could be like, it could come across as like they're really intentional and they care.
Right.
But they just don't see at all what's going on. And they're in a position of power, so nothing happens. They just discount.
So like, kind of just like denying.
It just goes away. It's like no matter how serious you are, right? So, anyway, 5 years later, 4 or 5 years later, I was hanging out with some very progressive Christian type people who were very social justice minded, and I ran into a woman who was a pastor in California, and I really wanted to get away from a whole lot of other things. And I was not going to join a church at all, but I ended up being in a desperate enough situation where I was like, I'll try this, because she wanted me to be the creative arts director person at this startup, and the idea was, it's very progressive, United Methodist Church, and the denomination, which has money, wants them to create a new model for church. And I'd been listening to a guy named Rene Girard, who, you mentioned the scapegoat thing. And that may just blow your mind.
Cool.
But anyway, I listened to him, and basically I was effectively, one way to talk, that doesn't get totally there, but in a lot of ways I was basically an atheist who thought Jesus still had something valuable to say. And maybe this would be a context where those things I mentioned, like love your enemies, would actually be turned into... I could be on staff somewhere and try to be a part of making a community that actually tried to live those things out.
Spread the message.
Okay.
Not spread the message necessarily. Not the old gospel.
Well,
thing.
Spread your message.
But sort of
your
like
interpretation.
The value. What value there was, I thought, in Jesus, like choosing to love your enemies and figure out what a healthy way to do that is in a wildly polarized world where everybody's yelling and screaming and making enemies out of each other, sounded kind of like maybe it'd be useful and a meaningful way to live for a while, right?
Definitely agree with that.
So I went, tried to do that. That died for basically the same reasons. Nobody was really there for those reasons, and so I got scapegoated and left. And so that's my experience with religion. Now I'm not gonna go back again for a while, if ever. All right, that was. Before I go on to Rene Girard, any questions, class?
No.
Okay.
Oh, how much time do we have?
We only have 6 minutes left.
Okay.
So
you can talk about scapegoating in like 3 minutes.
I'll give you the summary. So, French academic is Rene Girard was a French academic. He came up with this theory called mimetic theory or mimetic desire. The idea
heard this in a YouTube video.
Okay,
know it.
I'm a big fan. So the idea is that two or more people or people groups desire something. At first they find commonality with each other because they have similar interests, but eventually they can't all have the same thing they desire, and so they get into competition, and then rivalry, then enemy making, and then scapegoating, and somebody dies.
Yeah.
And in a prehistorical context, this is a very effective, reasonable way to think about or explain the development of religion and its forms independently. That you have things like ritual sacrifice showing up without, cultures connecting very well. Right?
all over the place.
Yeah. So, but